letters of the alphabet can't be taught in 26 days. They can't be taught in 26 weeks either. It is a global thing that happens. True learning requires so much more than just that, than just a marching through the letters of the alphabet. I've got a question for you. Yes, you, the one who's listening or watching to this right now, you. Have you ever taught something to your students and they suddenly don't seem to know it anymore? Like it just went poof and it vanished into thin air. And you're like, wait a minute, I just taught you that. And you're left wondering if maybe they're trying to play a cruel joke on you. Has something like that ever happened to you when you're teaching the letters of the alphabet? Because I know it's happened to me plenty of times, especially after winter break. You know, you worked nights and weekends all fall. You were teaching your little heart out every single day, and you could actually see those little light bulbs turning on in their heads. But you go back to school in January, and they give you that deer in the headlights look, right? Because it just didn't stick. In this episode, I'm going to share why this happens and how you can get your students to consistently name and identify letters of the alphabet. So having a clear, easy to follow plan in place for teaching the alphabet is a must, right? But sometimes, despite our best efforts and the best of intentions, a very clear plan for teaching the alphabet can seem like an uphill battle. One that can make you feel like you're rolling a boulder uphill. You push and you heave and you give it everything you got, but it just won't budge, right? But what if instead of rolling that big old boulder uphill, you tried rolling it downhill? Wouldn't it be so much easier? So let me tell you a story. So when I was a young student teacher, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was assigned to a kindergarten classroom. And my job there was to shadow a kindergarten teacher for one semester and then take over the class the next semester. And I was assigned the role during that first semester of working with children who hadn't quite mastered certain concepts yet, right? Which is a perfect way to shadow a teacher because we could all use extra help with those kids, right? And this particular teacher used letter of the week. Now, this was a long time ago, so no judgment at all. But she had the cute little blow up people and the songs, and she had all kinds of fun stuff going on, right? So sometime around, I don't know, I want to say the letter F. We were learning the letter F. And I had to keep a journal as a student teacher, and I had to record all my questions and thoughts. And then I would meet with my advisor and we would pick out certain questions and I would ask them to my cooperating teacher. And one of the questions I had that I noticed after working with the kids for a few weeks was with my particular group that was struggling. Well, why don't they know the letter? So at the end of, let's say we were learning the letter F, and I noticed that this one little boy in particular, he didn't know the letter F on Friday, right? So we were supposed to be doing a worksheet every Friday. Again, no judgment, many, many years ago. And we were supposed to be doing these worksheets on Friday. They were kind of like an assessment to see if the kids had learned the letter. And it was all about the letter F. And I was working with this one little boy. We'll call him Cedric. And I realized Cedric didn't know the letter F. And then I thought, the second question came into my mind. Not only why doesn't he know the letter, but he didn't learn it at all this week. He doesn't know it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And we'd been learning it every single day. And so I asked my cooperating teacher and she explained, some kids just take longer and that's okay. And we're just going to help support them and so forth. So I was okay with that. And then I came back the next week and we started on the letter G, and I'm working with my same little group. And I quickly realized, of course it was still Monday. So it was their kind of first time they had formal teaching on the letter G, but I realized really right away that they didn't get the letter G either. And so then my question was, when are they going to learn the letter F? And then I started panicking and thinking, well, they must not know A, B, C, D, and E either. So I kind of surreptitiously evaluated them on those, and they didn't know those either. And so then I went back to my cooperating teacher and I said, Maria, when are they going to learn those other letters? And she said, oh, don't worry. You're worrying too much. They'll catch up. And I just was like floored. And she said, well, we're doing all these fun things. It'll click. It'll click. And she was right. She was doing fun things and they were fun. I remember we had donuts for the letter D. Yum. There was something with like capes and crowns for like a royal king or queen thing that we did. I remember dinosaurs. We had some dinosaurs out at one point during the letter D. So there's always things that the kids could connect to the letters, but I was really still concerned that some kids didn't know the letters and what would happen when we got to the 26th letter of the alphabet and they still didn't know all the ones before it. So I was still a little confused. The moral of the story is that we have to learn how to teach smarter instead of harder, right? So that it's not an uphill battle. Because that's what I felt like as a young student teacher, that this was an uphill battle. If I'm constantly rolling this boulder uphill, right? It seems like it's getting harder every week because each week my kids are falling further and further behind, or certain students are. And then I found out there was a kid in there that could already read. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What's he doing for 26 weeks? So I had all these questions. I was probably a problem student. But anyway, what we now know is that learning to identify and name and recognize letters of the alphabet is not a linear process, right? Young children do not learn how to identify letters starting with A and ending with Z. That's not how it works, right? It happens all at once. They learn to identify letters at their own pace, just like they learn how to walk, right? Certain babies roll over at different times, right? Certain babies learn how to walk at different times. They learn how to crawl at different times. They learn how to speak at different times. And all of that's perfectly acceptable to us, right? Because we know that's how babies work. But what if we knew all these things about learning the alphabet too, but yet we still told them, baby, you must walk. On day 24, it says walk. You must walk. That's not how it works because not all kids are the same. And the research now shows without a shadow of a doubt that young children don't learn the letters of the alphabet in that way either. Letters of the alphabet can't be taught in 26 days. They can't be taught in 26 weeks either. It is a global thing that happens. True learning requires so much more than just that, than just a marching through the letters of the alphabet. Even if you're just doing a review, that's not how young children learn. And when we don't teach the way young children learn, we are setting them up for failure. So we have to teach smarter and not harder. And teaching smarter means that as professional educators, we teach how young children learn. Children learn the letters of the alphabet as they become meaningful to them. And what becomes meaningful to one child at one time is not the same as another child at another time. Okay, I know, I get it. You're tired of hearing me say that. So you're probably wondering right about now, okay, Vanessa, so if I don't teach a letter of the week, a letter of the day, a letter of whatever, the month, then how do I teach the letters? It's so simple. It's so simple that it's what trips us up because it seems too simple, but it really is how young children learn. We start with what's most meaningful to them. And again, we know that what's meaningful to different kids is different, right? So how do you know? How can you teach? Let's say you have 22 kids in your room. How can you teach 22 kids? The letters are meaningful to them, to each of those 22. That's too much, Vanessa, right? You may be thinking that, and that's okay. Maybe you start with their names. So let's say you have 22 kids in your class. There's 22 different names. There's a starting point for each child. But guess what? There are only 26 letters of the English alphabet. So some of those kids are going to have the same letters in their names, right? So that makes it a little bit easier. So let's just focus in on the first letter then to start, right? Not all the letters in their names, because you might have a Jonathan and a Christian and a Samantha, some kids with really long names. And that's not fair to them. So let's just start with the first letter. Every kid has one first letter of their name. Let's start there. That's a great starting place. And as they begin to learn that initial letter, what you're doing is you are hooking them in by making it so meaningful and so fun and so memorable that jumping off point is so much easier for them than buying into an artificial forced way of doing things. Like, we don't need to dress up like pirates for the letter P. Pinky swear, we do not. That is not how children learn the letter P. They just don't, right? So make teaching and learning about the alphabet easier. Make it like rolling a boulder downhill. And I promise, pinky swear, it will be so much more successful. When you follow this method, this natural, more meaningful method, it is not uncommon for teachers to have all of their kids recognizing and identifying the letters of the alphabet by November. How big of an accomplishment would it be if you could go into winter break with all of that behind you, right? And have them come back after break, having retained what you taught them. Wouldn't that feel amazing? As an early childhood teacher, I know you're always searching for new and smarter ways to teach your kids. And that's why I wrote my newest book, Teach Smarter, Literacy Strategies for Early Childhood Teachers. In this book, you'll be able to apply research-based principles in your classroom right away. Now, don't worry, if you can't grab a copy of my book right now, that's okay. You can get started implementing these research-based principles in your classroom by downloading my free guide, How to Teach the Alphabet. All of your students can learn the letters and you can make better use of your teaching time right away. Don't forget to subscribe because I'll be sharing the most important lessons I've learned in my journey to achieving success in upcoming episodes. So thank you for listening. Oh, and if you like what you've heard so far, it would mean the world to me if you could give me an honest rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That helps the podcast rank better on the charts so I can get my message out to even more early childhood professionals just like you. And bonus, if you have a funny story about something that you've taught that your kids forgot, go ahead and leave that at the bottom of your review along with your name, and I can give you a shout out on the next episode. Thanks. That's it for now. Onward and upward.